Avi, how are you?
I'm great, Tom. Thanks for having me.
So always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to get your great insight into real estate and specifically whatever subject we're talking about there and there. And today we've got a decent audience here on this Thursday morning, spring morning in Sydney, well, spring morning all over Australia and New Zealand. Joel, how are you going?
Tom, I'm so excited. My first webinar with you, and to a new audience in New Zealand as we go live. And yeah, I'm stunned. Great, happy.
So let me tell you, a few years ago, a gentleman by the name of Mark Simboli from Bill in the St. George area said to me, Tom, I want to let you know, he's a long-term client, a very good operator. He said, I want to let you know there's this product. No one knows about it, but just picture this. You can get anyone's name, mobile, social media handles, in the moment, you're driving by, you see a property that you think, man, I've got a client that'll buy this. Within seconds, you can be calling up the client, even though you've never spoke to them. He said, Tom, do you know what an incredible tool this is? You're at an open for inspection. Someone walks in, you get their name, you quickly go on a CoreLogic RP data, you find out they own 7 other properties, right? And you get their mobile number and you can ring them up. He said, Tom, don't tell anyone. So what did Tom Panos do? He went and signed an ambassador agreement with iD4me and he told everyone. He told everyone because Tom likes to tell people things that are going to help them. And I've been screaming at iD4me for ages. It was so good. I said, listen, why are we keeping it a secret in Australia? We've got to hit New Zealand. New Zealand. And all what was said, Joel, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. And the good news is we got there. It's happening.
Yeah,
Can I
we're
confirm that?
here.
Can I confirm?
Yes, you can confirm it, Tom. Monday we were live, and we've got sign-ups like you wouldn't believe. It's on like Donkey Kong. It's been fantastic.
Okay. Now, Avi, for our audience, in case they've missed you on some of our other segments that I've had you on, I only had you on 4 weeks ago, um, talking with Warwick from Local Agent Finder. And who else did we have on that day, Avi? There was another agent with us, wasn't there?
Stavros.
That right?
Yes,
That's right.
Stavros.
From
From O'Brien. Yes.
So firstly, Avi, let our audience know what part of Australia you work and what brand you're with and who you are.
So at the moment, I'm coming to you from Auckland. I'm at the Viaduct, so I'm having a good time in Auckland at the moment. But I run 5 Ray Whites in Brisbane South. So across from the Logan region to the Ipswich region and Brisbane. I also own a law firm in Sydney as well. And I do a lot of work with iD4me and talking about what they're doing out in the marketplace and how it's helped me and my agents elevate our game and in the marketplace.
Well, let's talk about that specifically. How has it helped you elevate your game in the marketplace, Avi?
So firstly, Tom, I think you have to look at what market you're in, right? So when I look at New Zealand, Westpac came out last month saying the market's no longer booming. It hasn't boomed. It's not crashing. It's very stable. It's a very stable market, and they don't see prices going up too much in the next 3 to 6 months. So then you look at it and saying, okay, what do I do with this? It's a stable market. So when the market is stable, you need to convince your sellers more. You need to keep in touch with them more. You need to work with them more to get them to the market. So I look at the market conditions in Auckland saying, okay, how are we going to utilize this tool to get to sellers? The first thing you need to do is you need to become a market leader in market knowledge. Because if you're not a market leader in market share, the first thing you need to know is what's my market doing? Yes, it's not booming. Yes, it's not crashing. Yes, it's stable. Do your prep for the market and then reach out to sellers. So this is where iD4me comes in so well because you can literally say, I'm doing this area, I'm doing a micro suburb, or I'm doing units in this suburb. I'm going to utilize all the data in iD4me to target that market. Go and be the market expert, know what's happening in the market, know what you're going to say to sellers, and then find sellers. iD4me gives you the unique ability to target specific suburbs or micro suburbs in that region.
Okay, let's just simplify basically what you've just said is iD4me allows you, once you've selected and you've made a commitment, I'm going after this little micro pocket. What it allows you is the people that you already don't have relationships with, those micro pockets, it gives you an automatic list and says, here are the people. This is who they are. This is where they live. And because you're so hungry, we're also going to give you their phone number. You can actually give them a ring and start a relationship. And to me, Avi, it doesn't get more basic than that. Work out the market that you want, then work out what you're going to say to them, then contact them. And one of the hardest bits we've ever had in real estate is the ability to contact them. And what iD4me does is it's like the Nurofen to the headache of where do I get these people, right? Where do I get these people? So, Avi, can I ask you, you've got how many salespeople work in your corporations? Because it's a
29 agents. 29 agents, Tom.
20, you got 29 agents, and do all 29 agents have iD4me?
Yes, the whole company. Every agent has access to iD4me.
Okay. So can I ask Avi, and I'll get you, Joel, if you feel free to unmute and join in the conversation. Where at the moment are you finding are the real big users of iD4me by agents, right? Where do you do it? I mean, I know in certain marketplaces that the market has not been great. Example, certain parts of Melbourne where it's been slow, a lot of agents use it as a chase up of expired listings, right? So they'll drive by, they'll see this property, and they'll use it to contact the owners, obviously in a ethical and legal way. Where else do you see it, Avi or Joel?
Yeah, so Tom, going into it, I think traditionally we used to be known as the industry that we're the only industry that know where our clients live, right? We know their addresses, we know they live there. But that traditional aspect of real estate has changed because so many purchasers over the last 5, 6 years have been investors. So your traditional aspect of real estate, where you go door knock, where you try to get the data, it's so hard to do now because we actually don't know where these people live. Like sometimes when you send a letter, it goes to their accountant or their financial advisor. What we use iD4me is to find out the actual phone number for these people. So the first port of call is like you can actually know what the number is for the investor. And these are the people, Tom, at the moment selling more quickly than the homeowners out there as well. So iD4me is a great tool, firstly, for investors because we don't know where these people live. So you get their numbers straight away. And if they're transacting quicker, these are the people you need to hit first. So that's the first port of call for us in terms of trying to find investor data.
Got it. Joel?
Yeah, so look, we see a heap of different use cases. More often though, and again, Avi's at the coalface selling homes and working with buyers and sellers, but we tend to be used more or trying to impart how do you use iD4me in some really basic fundamentals. So one of the things that we work with our supporters and our influencers is I think there can be a little bit of a misnomer around technology solves all your problems, but really what technology does is, or at least in our use case, is we empower you to be super successful at the basics that you would always do. So, Avi's talked about investors. Tons of people use us in that use case where they're looking for the absentee landlord. And for business development managers, it's very, very useful in that scenario. The other thing that we get used quite a lot for is where you have your own listing in a particular street and you want to start doing outreach. The tool's absolutely spectacular at being able to help you target who you want to call. So, at a very basic level, we can give you information that is very difficult to get hold of, contact data. So that's one thing. But what we also have is a lot more information about how to profile and target people that actually probably want to talk to you. So, you could, a basic example would be, I've got my, I'm an agent, I'm listing a home, I sell that house and I've got, say, 10 very active or very ready buyers that missed out. you can then target houses in the general area that match the profile of the property that you just sold. You can reach out to those particular owners. You can also see certain information around how long they've been there for. So you can get a sense of, well, if this person's been there for a while, they might be motivated to sell. Let's give them a call. Let's call them, let them know, hey, I just sold the house up the road. We got a spectacular price. I've got many buyers left over. At a minimum, let me come and let you know what your house is worth, and maybe there's some business there to be done. That's a really common use case. And I'll probably say the third common way we get used, or very prominently get used, is people that are either new to real estate or they've just moved to a new office and they're basically having to start afresh. They don't have the data. They need to build out that contact patch. So our tool's really, really useful there for being able to get verified data quickly. And again, if you're a little bit clever about how you use it, you can be super efficient at who you call, and you can rely that the numbers, it's verified, it's the person you need to speak to, and so that certainly does appear to take a lot of the pain out of the process of that outreach.
I get often asked, because people know that, I do work for iD4me, and I'd like to hear your view, Avi. I get asked by agents, but Tom, if we call them, they'll say, where'd you get our details? I get asked that a lot. And to me, it's not a complicated response. It's like, your details are on public records and I am calling off those records. It's not like there's some mysterious thing. Is there a better way of saying that, or is that what it is?
Yeah, look, I think when you go talk about this, that there's other platforms out there that have data as well. The difference is ID4me has a lot more data. It's more relevant. It's more timely. It's not historical. It's constantly updated. So I think that's where the people don't generally understand that it's the same platform as everything else. It's just a much better platform. So that's one thing that we always say to people that ask about this platform is, yeah, there's other things out there that you guys have been using for 20, 25 years. The problem with those are that it's historical now. They don't update data. It's not relevant. So what we say to the public, hey, I'm so sorry if I've reached out to you and you didn't want me to. I'll take your name off the database. There's certain places that we get data from. One is, historically it's in our database, or two, we purchase data and we contact data. It's somewhere you've given consent to it. So we apologize if we've intruded. We'll just make sure we don't call you again. So it's a very simple sort of conversation, and no one really gets angry with us, Tom, if we just apologize and move on. But they have consented to it somewhere down the line, somewhere.
Okay, Joel, is there anything you want to extend on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Our whole business, our IP, is all based on the data sets that we hold. And so what's super important for us as a business is that the way that we collect this information, the way that we, and the people that we work with, where we aggregate it from, is done in, the most highly compliant and legal way that it can possibly be done. And from that standpoint, we've got compliance frameworks that we have to abide by in our business that ensures that from cradle to grave, in terms of where that information is captured all the way through to how it's used, that it's been managed and looked after in a compliant way. Now, I'll go one step further than Avi. We don't mind if you mention you got it from iD4me. And we say that because what we are doing is completely compliant and in line with Privacy Act, both in New Zealand and in Australia. And we also provide people the option to be able to call us and have their information removed. So, in the scenario that Avi just provided, for those on the call, if they do use us or do end up using us, you can feel quite comfortable to say, well, I've used iD4me for this. Here's a link to their website. They're more than happy to remove you from that from their database if you like, and then that data's taken off the table, as it were. So there's no issue there. And I think one of the things as time goes on, and depending, I guess, on the demographic that you're speaking to, but most people do understand as they're going around the internet and they're signing up to things and agreeing to certain things, they are consenting for their information to be used for marketing purposes. So I think over time, this is becoming, less and less of an issue. We've been doing this now for a good number of years. We've got, 350,000 searches a day being done on our platform. It is very rare that we're hearing that this is causing an upset with users, and it's very, very rare that people contact us to get their data removed. So,
okay, it would be remiss of me. Avi, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to go back to Joel's point about hotspotting, if I can,
Yeah.
because one of the pet peeves as an agent, as a principal, is you list a property in Smith Street, Tom. 4 weeks later, 54 Smith Street comes on, and 64 Smith Street comes on. I think ever since we started using iD4me, we can hand on heart say, I've done everything I can to prospect on that street. I've got the number from iD4me. I've called them. I've spoken to them. I've left them a message. I've tried to get through the door. If you lose it, you lose it. But now with this product, that we can actually say that we've actually given it our best, because the hotspotting, as you know, Tom, when you list something, another listing pops up 3 doors down, 4 doors down, that you haven't managed to contact somehow because they weren't there when you're door knocking. So those sort of things are really amazing what iD4me can do for us.
I read there's American data, and I don't know, how relevant it is to Australian data, but it is definitely an indicator, and that is that a home will be coming on the market within an 80 home radius within 90 days of the sold by going up. And I presume the psychology is that the vendor is waiting for the other property to get sold to see what it sells for, what the market's like, maybe not actually compete against that listing. So you're 100% right. One useful thing to be doing is building relationships with the 79 other properties around it. I'm going to answer some of these questions that are coming in. So team, don't think that I'm ignoring them, but I just want to make sure that we give some prospecting information as per our session that's been promoted as a prospecting session. And I want to let you know that for me, there are 4 or 5 rinse, repeat sentences that you'll be using iD4me. The first one is when a property is just listed. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. I know you're not selling, and I'll be very brief. The reason I'm calling is one of your neighbours has just put their home on the market, and we're just letting all the local people know. How open would you be for us to call you once it's sold, as it might not get published, so you know what the new value of your home is? Second phone call. Hi, it's Tom Panos here. I spoke to you 5 weeks ago. I got great news. That home has been sold. Would you like to know the new value of your home? We're doing health updates all week in the street. We're going to be out there. That's your second call. Your third phone call can be your expired listing phone call. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from the real estate. I notice you've been on the market for some time, and I'm hoping it's going well for you. How open would you be for us to sit down where I can show you how we've been selling homes in 3 weeks that other agents couldn't sell in 3 months, using our passive aspirational buyer retargeting strategy? I mean, the goal of an expired listing call, by the way, everyone, is to simply get an appointment. So let me just come in and look at some of these questions that have come in here, and let's try if we can go through some of these together. How the Safdar says, how will you tell that XYZ is an investor based on Avi Khan's example? Is there any way you can tell whether someone is an investor or a non-investor on iD4me?
There is ways to infer
Yeah.
that they might be. And so one thing just to clear up that is often a misconception, we don't have title information in our platform. So just to be clear with that, what we do find the use case or the best agents that use us often will use us in conjunction with some kind of title platform. And what they'll do is they'll go, okay, there's a property that I like, or for whatever reason they want to target it. They can then look up who the owner of that property is, and then they'll search the owner's details within iD4me. Now, in some title platforms, they will have what's called a secondary address, or they'll have some level of indication that there's a second address for the owner. And so in that use case, what would happen is that the agent would look up the owner. They'd probably start in the suburb of the second address that's listed, and then narrow down the search. So one of the things that we do here all the time with our customer success team is kind of show people how to maximize the use of the platform. If you don't have that secondary address, there are things in that you can actually, as I said, you can start to infer. So, for example, if you look up that owner and they aren't at the address that the title platform says that they own, well, that's obviously a pretty good start. And we also timestamp everything as to when we collect the information, and you can often see historic movements of where someone's been. Again, this is a tool or a technique that we show people how to do in the platform. And so when you're getting a demo from us, or if you sign up and you're having a bit of a tough time, we can show you in detail how to do that. So yeah, there's direct ways to do it, Tom, depending on what you've got access to in the start. But there's also inferred ways that you use the platform. But I think we do need to set the expectation. We are not a silver bullet, right? What we're going to do is we're going to give you a helpful advantage over and above where you're at now. So it would be remiss of me to say every time you do a search, you're going to find the person every single time. That's not the case. But I can say in terms of what's available now and what agents need to be more successful to build those relationships, there is an absolute plethora of information in there that if you're willing to put the time in, you will get the best out of it. You will be successful.
Okay, beautiful. Question from Marie. Can iD4me provide information on companies or super entities as there is no phone number or investor name?
In New Zealand, specifically, not yet.
Yeah.
Within Australia, in some instances.
Yeah.
This is a little bit like the investor question. So commercial agents will often use us, but again, they'll use it in conjunction with, say, a commercial credit bureau, right? So they'll be looking up, say they know a company owns a particular building, they'll look up that company, they'll find a director, then they search the director in iD4me. So that's one way to do it. But within our platform, again, in Australia, this is going to come to New Zealand at some point, but just in terms of where we're at today, in AU, you can search properties. And if we do have a record that there's been some level of transaction or a listing piece of information that's related to a commercial entity, we will show that. Again, what you can then do is look that commercial entity up, find a director, and then search that director within the platform. With commercial use case, there is a little bit more digging you have to do, but certainly the experience we've had with some of the larger commercial brands in Australia, because if you do get that listing and those properties are worth so much in that commercial use case, it often is worth going that little bit of an extra mile, because if you do find that contact, first in, first dressed, best dressed, as it were. So, if you can secure that listing, it's definitely worth spending some extra time. But again, you just have to do a little bit of digging. Our team here can show you how to do that. So, yeah.
Okay. There's a question from Leonard Anderson. If they are new to an agency and need to build out the contact patch, wouldn't you do a letterbox drop or door knocking in conjunction? So Avi, maybe I put that, that's to me less about the product and more about the sales approach, and
Yeah, Tom, sorry, prospecting is all about layering, right? iD4me is not there to replace your traditional forms of prospecting. It's not there to replace marketing. It's not there to replace social media. It goes alongside it. So the more familiarity that you build with your clients in the marketplace, the better it is. So letterbox drop works. Door knock works, cold call works, warm calls work. So you have to do it all in conjunction with each other. Otherwise it's not going to work. Everything is contiguous to each other. So iD4me helps you do that. But the more you letterbox, the more you social media, the more you door knock, the better your call will be. They'll recognize you. They'll recognize your name or your face or your results. So you have to do all of the above.
Okay, beautiful. There's a question that's come here. whether it's applicable to outside of Australia and New Zealand, I would say the answer is no, isn't it, Joel?
Which question, Tom? Sorry,
Is it applicable to countries outside of Australia and New Zealand? The answer would be no, isn't it?
as in where is I? Sorry, I'm
So,
just
so at the moment, this service is only available in Australia and New Zealand. I think that's what they're asking.
yeah. Sorry, yes, correct. Yes, sorry.
Okay, then we've got what is the drop-off rate? I'm not quite sure what Leonard means by what is your data drop-off rate. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there, Leonard.
I think he means how often is the data updated?
Yeah, great question. It depends. So we've got multiple suppliers and we've got many different data points that we capture. There's some pieces of information that we get daily. There's some that gets monthly. There's some that is every other month. But I think for those listening in, again, I'll come back to my point where, you know, the data that we hold is our entire IP. So as a business, one of our main strategies is we have to keep consuming more and more information. And the other thing that happens when you do that, it also then makes what you're already holding yet more valuable, right? So for example, if you've got 3 pieces of info on me, and you then get 5 more, even if that information's old, it still allows you ways to link information together to just validate who I am. And so what we do, and people who use the platform will see this, often when you look up an individual or a property, there'll be lots of different records for that property, and it's done in a chronology over time. So we don't remove things, we just keep stacking it and stacking it. And so the benefit there is, you know, I was talking a little bit about, you know, you've got more information to profile the people you want to call. You've got more information to profile the homes that are relevant of you know, what you might be selling or what you specialize in. And there's also more and more information about people as they age, which can be really helpful. I mean, certainly in Australia, one of our other ambassadors, Josh Fegan, talks a lot about, you know, certain incentives around self-managed super and what you can do with property. And as you get older, certain things that become available to you. Again, this is another piece of information that's there where you can be far more targeted around who you're reaching out to, as opposed to just blindly going out into to the market. But yeah, I hope that answers. I hope that answers that one.
So I've got to get through some of these questions. If someone requests their data removed, does that data not stop new data of theirs going back on the site later?
Yes. So if I was to ask for iD4me to remove me,
yeah,
if we purchase then more data and I'm in that,
yeah,
I will be flagged and I will be removed.
Okay. Now, Ash Troll is asking, are their multi-user accounts more cost effective?
They can be. At the moment, what our go-to-market in New Zealand was really centered around individual agents. That certainly is the more prevalent use case. We do multi-level agreements, but they tend to be rare. It's more around agents purchasing this information for themselves. However, what I would say, if you are an avid user and you are in a larger office and you do have other people that are wanting to use the service, there are things that we can work out. Predominantly our service is a SaaS-based service based at individual agents. So yes and no, but yeah, that's how I'll leave that one.
Okay. Williams asked, will there be a feature in the future that will show only the current house owner compared to other people that have rented at the address? I think that's a development issue that they're talking about. Will you develop that? No comment there, or?
What I'll say is we have some very exciting things in the works, particularly around apps, as well as including much more depth of data, which would help that particular question, but I'll leave it at that because I don't want to blow the surprise.
Can I add to that, Tom? It doesn't matter. Like, if you've got 3, 4 pieces that are attached to one address, just call all 3. You might find other appraisals, other listings, other buyers. I think we just get too caught up on making sure data is 100% accurate. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Beautiful things happen
Correct.
from just a simple hello. So just pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I I can't help it. I've got a small group of real estate agents that I notice have got this obsession to get this sort of perfect strategy right before they do anything. And I often find, Avi, they're the ones that are the least productive because they often have this paralysis by overanalysis. And you know what it's like. Perfectionism is actually married to procrastination, and sales
Yes.
is the opposite to procrastination. It is just do something. If you do something, something happens. If you do nothing, nothing happens, right? Um, Now, the questions keep coming in. Let me just see here. Does iD4me link owners and their contact info to specific apartment numbers or just the building address only? I think it does. I think it gives it yeah, it gives the exact unit. I mean, I've done it. I've done it myself. By the way, if people are watching, Susan, let's get people easy access to iD4me. Joel, if they've got inspired by sitting here today and thinking to themselves, man, let's get onto this. Can I ask you, where do they contact? Who do they contact?
All they need to do is go to id4me.biz, www.id4me.biz, and there's a little button that says book a demo. Book a demo. We've
And the
got
link is in the comments section.
oh, there you go. Susan's
Susan's just put in the
Susan's
comment section there, right? And Susan, if you don't mind, because I know there's a lot of people that are watching this on social media, because we've
Yeah, it's
actually
posted on Facebook too.
post. Okay, beautiful. So the main thing is, and what I'd say is, there's a lot of other questions. Why don't you reach out to iD4me, because a lot of them are technical questions. But what I can say, I mean, is it competitively priced in New Zealand, Joel? Or is that something you'll speak about to people when you talk to them?
look, what we've done is we've mirrored the price in New Zealand that it is in Australia. So certainly we think it's amazing value at what we're charging. If you think
I never have agents ever complain to me.
no,
iD4me is too expensive. Never, I don't have that. So if what you're saying is you've mirrored that over to New Zealand and converted to their currency, that means that is your sign to go straight to iD4me. We've put the link on there, and I want to let everyone know watching this, Avi, there's 8 weeks of real estate left. And, I had a boss, John Alsnet, and he said to me, Tom, the most important 8 weeks of your year is, and I'll never forget it, he said, it's the middle of October to the middle of December. And I said, why is that? He said, I'll tell you why. Because there's a high propensity for vendors and buyers wanting to do deals because they want to bring closure. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, because it's good weather and there's this notion out there that property looks better in spring/summer, there is more volume, which we all know that is the case. And then he said, but the third reason is this, Tom, if you nail those 8 weeks, you've also nailed your launch to the following year, because what's happening is people are looking at who's getting the listings and who's getting the sales, and they're the ones that get the appraisals. And when you nail this strategy right, not only will you actually sell a lot of properties till December the 15th, you'll also have all these other listings that you've signed up that you're going to launch in the new year that is ready, and you're going to have a great holiday because you sold a lot, you've got a lot to launch, and you're going to actually go away feeling great. It's been a fantastic period. Do you agree with that, Avi, about the
Yeah,
importance that those weeks?
it's so crucial. I'll just say before you join, 63 days left to get to Christmas. You got to make it count, because in our business, what we say, exactly what you've echoed here, Tom, you win January, you win 2026. So what's your strategy to win January? Because you know what? We have in our industry, Tom, 9-month agents. They take December off, they
Yeah.
slow in January. By the time they get their first settlement, it's February. They've lost 3 months of the year already. You don't want to be a 9-month agent. You want to be a 12-month agent. So it's about time that you strategize. When are you going to launch your properties? Is it Boxing Day? Is it 2nd of Jan? Because if you're a 9-month agent, you're going to be broke. You're going to have no profile. You've got no strategy. You've got no listings. You've got no buyers. You're not going to survive 2026. So you got to go in hard. You got to make this 63 days really count, Tom.
Yeah, I had a Melbourne agent say to me yesterday, he goes, Tommy, when are you coming over this month? But let's get a Christmas drink in. I said, no, I'm not coming over this month. But I said, it's a bit early for a Christmas drink. He goes, oh, what are you talking about? He goes, Melbourne Cup's around the corner. And I go, mate, it sounds like what you're basically saying is that Melbourne Cup is the defining date that you say, that's it, you know, summer's here, sun's out, guns out, we're on holidays. And I don't know why some of the Victorian agents, particularly the auction agents, they sort of, you are right, they sort of finish off and then say, oh, well, nothing's going to happen until after Australia Day. And that's how you end up getting a 9-month year, I suppose.
There are a lot of 9-month agents out there, Tom. What we say to our sellers is that I want you to enter the market in January when buyers are entering the market as opposed to when sellers are entering the market. Very crucial. I want you to enter the market when buyers are entering the market, not other sellers. You got to be ready in December, Tom.
Jesus, so I'm glad I had you on here, Avi, because I needed a few more scripts and dialogues for this current marketplace. And as usual, Tom Panos and the Real Estate Gym just rip off and plagiarize everything. Ladies and gentlemen, iD4me has hit New Zealand. Kia ora. Looking forward to being over there. In fact, I'm going to be telling my Zoom at 12:30. Let's have a look. Is that right? I've got a New Zealand Zoom with around 100 people with the independent agents of New Zealand, and I'm going to let them know, good news, we've got numbers. Pick up the phone. Pick up the damn phone, everyone. Signing off. See you soon. Thank you, Avi. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you too. Appreciate it.